And the other thing that's happened on the Democratic side is they believe that the Republicans have been damaged by the Republican primary campaign. If you take a look nationally at what's happening, Obama's approval rating has been very mediocre to negative for the last year. The highest it's gotten is at one time recently was 53%. It goes somewhere, it's gotten as low as 42, 43, 41, but it's been hanging in between 40 and 50. The Democrats said, not good, but not quite the catastrophe of George Bush's approval rating. It's not 25, it's not 30, it's not 35. He's not the complete albatross around the neck of the party that Bush became after his re-election, actually. So the Democrats look at that and they say that Obama's approval-disapproval rating tends to be, mediocre, sometimes relative, little negative, sometimes a little positive. The biggest challenge in the approval rating is that where the people disapprove of Obama's record the most is on the economy. And that is probably the biggest challenge he faces because that's a critical issue in actually determining how many people vote. However, every election is really about not only an incumbent, but also to some degree, and we don't know exactly how much in this election, the opponent. A lot of times you say a candidate can't win until the other side has their opponent. And then all of a sudden things change. I recall 20 years ago in Virginia when there were all these stories about Chuck Robb, who was senator, about having had all these trysts when he was governor and hanging out at the beach for 100 weekends, with girls and cocaine parties and all of this. And everybody said, Chuck Robb will never win another election again in Virginia. Until the Republicans nominated Oliver North. And then he won. And he won by running a character campaign. So you never quite tell in politics. So so what's happened with the Republicans is that many of the people who the pundits thought would be the toughest candidates never got in. And Mitt Romney's got in. And Romney, at first, and maybe at the end, maybe come November, looked to have a pretty good pedigree for doing this. He'd been involved in politics, but he wasn't just a politician. Been a business person. And if you wanted someone, and he'd been a good manager, and he'd come into troubled situations like the Olympics and did very good jobs. So the Republicans thought, this is a good story. That we're going to talk about someone who can come into this troubled economy, manage the economy, and do a better job for us. That this can really work out and work out well. That he's not a bad candidate at all. Plus, no baggage in terms of scandal and whatever. Just upright, great family man. Just somebody good looking, somebody who'll be very good. And all of a sudden, this primary campaign has taken these various twists and turns that right now, Romney's approval rating is one of the lowest we've ever seen since we started rating this of a candidate ready to get nominated on that. He's actually upside down. He has about 28% of the people approve of him, 39% disapprove on that front. So what's happened is that the campaign has damaged Romney. That on one hand, he's getting attacked from conservatives for not being conservative enough, and on the other hand, the Democrats are painting him as the chief representative of the 1% on that front. Now, I think some of that's going to change once the Republicans get the nomination, begin to focus on Obama and the like. But what it means is that it's not so clear that this is going to be an easy race for the challengers. That I would have thought 6-8 months ago, the state of the economy was such that it was going to be a very difficult time for Obama to get reelected. And right now, most people think that it's going to be pretty even, and maybe Obama's even a slight favorite at the moment nationally. Again, he still faces this concern that he hasn't managed the economy well, and he still faces this tremendous concern about these gas prices that I think if they stay up and people are paying that every day, it's just a daily reminder that the economy is not going as well as you want. And the big uncertainty is that are the positive trends we've seen in the last few months, will they still be on that same trend line in October and November? If they are, that's going to be very good news for Obama. If they're not, if all of a sudden we see a U-turn starting, that's going to make life more difficult for him. And so I think this race is going to be competitive nationally, and I think it's going to be competitive in Virginia as well. I think Virginia is going to be certainly close to ground zero in the presidential campaign.